welcome to His Way is Perfect. So here we go again with another big topic, 1,000-year reign with Christ or Yeshua. Similar to before, I will go over the theories that I've heard for years, and then we will go over what is literally written in the scriptures about the 1,000-year reign. If you're new, please support the channel by subscribing. Occasionally, I read comments, and I want to stress occasionally, suggesting what I say in my videos is incorrect. Surprisingly, these comments often repeat long-standing misconceptions. What these individuals may not realize is that I don't rely on theories. I present verses from scriptures that address the same subject. I don't offer personal opinions, but rather show what is written. Let's go into the topic of the 1,000-year reign in Revelation to uncover more details. To do so, we simply need to explore where it is discussed. Let's begin with the various theories surrounding the topic. First, we have the perennialism. The view holds that Christ will physically return to earth before the millennium begins, hence the prefix pre. After his return, he will reign on earth for literally 1,000 years. At the end of this period, the final judgment will take place. The view is often associated with the belief in a secret rapture, where believers are taken up to heaven prior to the period of the Great Tribulation. However, not all perennialists hold to this rapture theory. Postmillennialism believe that Christ will return after the millennium, hence the prefix post. They interpret the millennium not necessarily as literally 1,000 years, but as a long period of righteousness and peace. According to this view, the world will become increasingly Christian, and the spread of the gospel will result in a period of great blessing, which after Christ will return. Amillennialism. The in the amillennialism means no, reflecting the belief that there's no future literally 1,000-year reign of Christ. Instead, a millennialist symbolically often interpreted as Christ's reign in the hearts of believers or as the current church age. According to this perspective, Christ's return will coincide with the final judgment, which is the eternal state which will immediately begin. Each of these views has been held by various Christian traditions and theologians throughout history. Now we will go over what is actually written, and we will not use theories and we will not use our belief system, but we will see what is actually written. So let's start by reading what the scriptures actually say about the 1,000-year reign. Revelation chapter 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into a bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, and he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years shall be fulfilled. After that he must be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Christ, or Yeshua, for the word of Elohim, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received a mark on their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. As such, the second death has no power, but he shall be priest of Elohim of Christ, or Yeshua, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So now, how do we figure this out? Do we just guess like everyone else, or do we read the whole book and let the book explain itself? So step 1, we keep reading. Revelation chapter 20, verse 7. When 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. He shall go to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and devoured them. So now we have our first clue, Gog and Magog. So now we go into the place in the scriptures that discusses Gog and Magog, and to see if we can line it up. So we go to Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1. And the word of the Most High came to me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, saying, So now we have our anchor to do our research. We have Gog and Magog in Revelation, and we have it in Ezekiel. We can now combine them to do our research. So now we read and compare Revelation chapter 20, verse 9. And they went up to the breadth of the earth, and surrounded the camp of the saints, and the beloved city. Fire came down out of heaven and devoured them. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 6. And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am the Most High. Revelation says fire went out. Ezekiel says the Most High will send out fire. Now we know for sure we are talking about the same event. So now we dig into Ezekiel to fill in the missing pieces. Revelation chapter 20 verse 8. And he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, the number whom is of the sand of the sea. And they went up to the breadth of the earth, and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down out of heaven and devoured them. And we compare that with Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, that have been always waste. But it is brought back out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Revelation says 1,000 years. Ezekiel says many days. Revelation says Gog and Magog will come with people like the sand of the sea. Ezekiel says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. This is undoubtedly the same event. The Most High will tell one piece to one prophet, then reveal another piece to another prophet. Now we compare Revelation 20 verse 9, and they went up to the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and devoured them. And we compare that with Ezekiel 38 verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste. But it is brought back out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Revelation says the camp of the saints. Ezekiel says gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, that which have always been waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Now we have the timeline. This is talking about when Israel is gathered. The Old Testament is all about one day when Israel is gathered in the end times. 1,000 years happens after Israel is gathered. Now let's read Ezekiel chapter 38. For time's sake, I only target key verses because most would not make it to the end of the video if I read the whole chapter. But I will encourage you to go and study Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 and compare it with Revelation 20. So now Ezekiel 38 verse 11. Thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, neither having bars nor gates. So Gog and Magog will want to fight against the children of Israel after they are gathered in the end times. Gog and Magog will go to the land of unwalled villages, with no wall and no bars or gates. Why is this verse such a big deal? Why is the Most High stressing the fact that they are safe and living without the need for bars and gates? Why? The Bible is taught like a book of fairy tales. That's why younger people will not give it the time of day. The Most High is stressing no bars or gates. If anyone knows anything about the children of Israel, the majority of the children of Israel currently live in places now that have plenty of cement walls. Their stores and bodegas have gates to protect them from thieves. Their windows have plenty of bars to prevent break-ins. But when they are gathered, they will not need these forms of protection. That's why Christ or Yeshua said to them, Matthew chapter 6 verse 19, lay not up for yourselves treasures on the earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, where thieves break in and steal. But lay up treasures in heaven, where neither moth or rust doth corrupt, where thieves do not break in nor steal. Currently, if the children of Israel leave their valuables behind walls or bars or gates, it will still get stolen. Yeshua is telling the children of Israel, don't spend too much time collecting wealth, where thieves will steal it. Do the necessary things to make it into the kingdom. When the kingdom is set up, you will not need to protect your wealth. It will be safe. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 14. Therefore, Son of Man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith the Most High Elohim, in that day when my people Israel dwelleth safely, shall thou not know it? Deuteronomy 33:28. Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon the land of corn and wine, and his heaviness shall drop down like dew. Jeremiah 23 verse 6. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is the name whereby he shall be called, the Most High our righteousness. Isaiah chapter 60:11. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. That's what you see. Gog and Magog with refuse to serve the children of Israel. That's why they will get wasted or destroyed by fire. Revelation chapter 21:24. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring their glory and honor of the nations into it. Their glory and honor is the gold and silver. If you notice, a lot of countries are now talking about going onto the gold standard again. That means they're in the process of unearthing all their gold that have been hidden for all these years. They will end up having to hand this gold over to the children of Israel. So now we have a complete timeline. Israel goes into slavery. At some point, the Great War begins. During the Great War, Yeshua or Christ returns. The nations end the war with themselves to come to fight Yeshua. After he destroys them, Israel is gathered. Israel goes into the wilderness. The purging process begins, and the rest of the reign with Christ for 1,000 years. After the 1,000 years, the devil is loosed, not a spirit, but a particular bloodline. Certain nations conspire to fight against the children of Israel. The Most High himself will destroy them that fight against Israel, then Judgment Day. In the next video, I will go over more details around Revelation chapter 20, verse 6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Elohim and of Yeshua, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. What is the first resurrection? We will go over that in the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.